Hello and welcome back to my adventure for not buying clothes. It's the 28th of May today, which means it is the second anniversary since I stopped. So I wanted to just do another update because someone commented on my 1 year update and it made me sort of think about revisiting it. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing an annual update every year, but we'll see what happens. And I've had some more thoughts and realizations, and I thought it's going to be quite fun both for me to have this as a bit of a diary, and also if anybody else is thinking about stopping buying clothes, to kind of see what my process has been like and perhaps take away some thoughts out of that experience to apply to themselves. So I'm going to do this in 3 parts. Look at me planning this out, like I know what I'm doing. So the first part's going to be what, if anything, did I buy? The second part is going to be a little bit of touching on some of the things that I'd said previously in my previous videos. And then the third thing's just going to be my general kind of thoughts and feelings about the way that my wardrobe is, and then a little bit of because this sort of coincides with some other kind of decluttering life stuff, how that's been impacted and the other changes that I've seen there. So, part 1. What did I buy, if anything? I bought a circus costume. Shocking, this is the one place that apparently I still need to buy clothes. What I bought was a morph suit. So we did some Halloween work, and my previous Halloween costumes were from 2019. I've been wearing the same clown outfit and stilt walking costume since then. I made it. I hand sewed it because I didn't have a sewing machine at that time, and I borrowed my boss's sewing machine to do the really long side seam for the stilt walking trousers, because I didn't fancy doing 4. Actually, I think they did them as just a fold over tube, so I don't fancy doing the 2 3 meter long seams, or however stupidly long they are. However long, no, 2 meters maybe. Didn't fancy doing that by hand, but the rest of the thing I all sewed by hand, and I still do wear that. That's my main stilt walking outfit still, and I made a stilt walking outfit for this Halloween, so I've got a second character. I made up a Reaper one out of things that I already had, and I made some stilt trousers, so it's not all been purchasing for every new character. I didn't feel like I had the skills to create a morph suit. I haven't worked with spandex. It's just not something I'm familiar with. Again, it was kind of a busy time over the year because we're kind of hitting into September, and I just started a new job at the start of October, so I didn't have lots of time to sew, and I spent all summer writing up a PhD thesis and just working loads. It got to the end of September, and we'd still done most of pretty much every weekend in the summer, so it'd been a really busy summer. There wasn't enough time to make something or learn how to make something and buy spandex and stuff like that. If I need another one, I might have a go at making one now that I can see what the construction's like as well, because I haven't worn one. I've just seen a friend wearing one a few years ago at Pride, so I did buy that one, but other than that, I haven't bought anything. I've still been making things apace. I've stopped sewing as much. That's kind of just slipped back as another hobby. I'm not missing out on anything. I'm just knitting more. I've learned how to spin yarn recently, but yeah, I've just sort of been sticking with knitting and crochet, which takes that much longer than sewing because it brings things into your wardrobe that much slower. It just takes longer, so it helps with the accumulation situation. Kind of, but that's the only thing I've bought. I bought a pair of shoes for wild swimming. I tried to find some on Marketplace. Olio, the ones that were listed didn't fit, so I ended up buying some from a charity shop for about £3, because the ones I had before were all the way worn through, so I just needed a pair of those, and I've used them a couple of times, and we're just back into wild swimming season, so they're new. I bought some roller skates. I don't know if that counts as clothes. I don't think so. Shoes are kind of half on the list of things that I can't buy and kind of half not, so it's kind of there. But other than that, I haven't bought anything. It's been relatively easy not to. So I wanted to address a couple of things that I was talking about in my previous videos, just as a bit of an update. I was thinking about the things that I may need to buy in the future, like long-term future, and the things that I kept mentioning were jeans and underwear. The underwear one really confuses me. I don't know what I was talking about. I think I was talking about like knickers, like pants, like panties, if you're the person that says panties, like, you know what I mean, like stuff that covers your butt. And like, at the time that I made the first video, I had made knickers, I'd made thongs, like there's loads of tutorials online, it's not a particularly big or complicated garment. I think I'm still working on how I might, but like it's not something that I'm just like, I could just whip up a pair and they'd look perfect. I don't know that I'm there with with anything. It's not something I've made like loads of, but yeah, I have no idea. The thing that I might have also been talking about was bras, and I think in my head I was perhaps thinking of like a molded cup bra, so something that looks like this. I've got quite a lot, so again it's something that like, even if they're all being worn and kind of being worn out, I'm not the most busty person. This angle is doing quite a lot for me. I have quite a small bust, and they don't move about a lot or anything, so I don't ever put that much strain on a bra. So despite the fact that this one's pretty old, it still looks very new. I've had it for at least 2 years and there's very little wear on it, and it's a cheap one as well. So I've got like a decent stock. I suspect that I've got some bras that were like the third bra I ever owned that are still like serviceable. And my weight is very stable as well, so I'm still able to wear it if I want to. So yeah, making this kind of molded cup, this sort of padded bit, I thought, okay, that might be quite tricky, but also I've got a really decent stock of them, so I'm probably going to be good for like a decade anyway, at minimum. Like, I've got loads. But I have noticed something. So I quite like to wear bras. I have been experimenting more with going braless. But I have, like, one of the things that I quite like, particularly if I'm kind of in a work setting, as I mentioned, I think in the extended version of wearing clothes that I'd made for a week, the video that I made in 2020, I don't necessarily like to have a nipple poke through. Whether my nipples are pierced or not, one, the other, both, or neither, and whatever jewellery that I choose to wear or not wear, I would like that to not necessarily be something that I telegraph in the workplace. You choose your own like adventure and stuff, but that's just kind of where my line is at the moment. But what I did find, and I didn't do this on purpose to fix this issue of like, oh, I really want to do that, what will be this solution? I knitted some bralettes, and this is one of them, and they end up being sort of all the thing. I just saw it and I wanted to make it. That's the front. So this is just come out of the washing machine, so it's all like weird tensions. So this is the front that you're looking at. It's got kind of a similar neckline to the thing that I'm wearing now. I'm trying to get it to look straight on the camera, but it's not. You can kind of see it. It goes on, it is a bralette. It just kind of sits on like a crop top. Kinda like that. Et voila. Because it's ribbed, it scrunches in. So it gives quite a nice sort of fit with negative ease. And because it's ribbed stitch and because it's knitted, it gives it a little bit of extra depth, like to the fabric, and that provides enough coverage. So one of the big themes, and I'll come back on this with jeans, is that I can't make this, but I can make something that has the functionality that I need in a different way. On that same vein, jeans. So in my head, I can't make jeans is I do not have a specialised sewing machine, which is what I think I would need in order to sew through thick pieces of denim such as what I used for jeans. But, and that's true, but there are a couple of other things in within that. One, I've got better at patching. So these jeans had a little bit of a rip. These would be like kind of workish jeans. the kind that I was like referencing when I said like when I go to work I wear a pair of jeans and then like a nice top, and that's generally my like uniform. So these ones would be like that. This was a pair of those. I have about 3. When they got a hole in the crotch, I've got good enough at patching that I think that's not very noticeable, especially considering it's like so. I'd have to be manspreading pretty dramatically for that to be visible. It's not visible if I just stand and you look at me, or if I'm like bending or doing like a number of regular tasks like I might be. Like, it's not obvious that there's like big rips in them or anything. Even if you like see, because it's on such a like dark colour as well, it's not necessarily all that obvious. The inside is green because that's the fabric I had available, but the outside like doesn't show any green or anything on it. This is just kind of reinforcing me stitching them back together. So yeah, problem solved on the jeans front, I think, for that little bit longer. So we've got a few more years before I need to worry about perhaps replacing these ones, depending on if they get any dramatic rips anywhere else. And the other thing is, I started a job at the end of October and they had a no denim policy, and I didn't realise that until I'd already started. So I was like, oh no, my uniform, I'm gonna have to find something different to wear that's that right mixture of like professional and like relatable, so I'm not like super harsh and intimidating or anything like that. Just preference. And so I had to find something else to wear. So I've got like all my skirts and my dresses, and I continue to make more and more garments and things like that. I have some corduroy trousers. I'd forgotten about them. Like, they just sit there in with my other things. I've just been grabbing jeans, and I have like at least 2, possibly 3 pairs of black corduroy trousers, and then they just worked. So I've actually got a bonus couple of pairs. And I think I mentioned previously, like, I dyed just before my first video, because I showed the other thing that I dyed in that. I dyed a pair of jeans black, so if I had like another pair of jeans which were like a good tidy cut with no rips and I wanted to wear them into a work setting, I can just dye them black. I'm never going to be sad about wearing black jeans instead of blue jeans. Like, I basically don't need blue jeans in my wardrobe, so there's like additional length of time that I can get out of that. But what if I want something that I have made that performs the same function, very much like the bras? I made these. These are some nice stripy trousers. I saw something like this on the Killstyle website, and I had a go at making them, and I've made them, and I've worn them, and I wore them on stage to perform with a rock band, so that's fun. I'm thinking I'm going to need to, because the top's a little bit too stretchy with where it is, because this is a stretch fabric, but it's the right beautiful stripe that I wanted. I watched Beetlejuice and I suddenly wanted to make everything black and white stripes, so I made some socks and I made some trousers. So I'm going to sew a little ribbon across that attaches like over the buttonhole, so that'll kind of reinforce it, because at the moment they're falling down a bit if I put too much stuff in the pockets. But I would say that, like, from a fashion perspective, from like a vibe perspective, that these perform the same general function as jeans, and I made them. And I made them in like 5 hours. I worked out that, like, we call it slow fashion. If I had got on a train and gone to London and like known where I was going, so like gone directly there and then bought them and came back, only spending like a couple of minutes in the shop, it would have taken longer than making them in my house by hand. So yeah, faster than I could have bought them from a shop far enough away. So I thought that was a quite fun thing. They've got a little extra character because of where I got the fabric from. It's like the recycled stuff, but I think that doesn't, I don't think that detracts at all. And they survived the wash, so definitely sewn them at least sufficiently well. Yeah, so jeans might be a little more right. Then I thought, even more longevity. And also, if I've managed to think through these things in this time, I'm sure that maybe I'll come up with even more solutions at the point where I need them. It's trusting future me to know what I'm doing. Something else that I've started to do a little bit of is a little bit of shoe maintenance and repair. So these shoes, like I said, shoes are kind of half on it because I can't make shoes, but I'm wondering if I can continue to repair them. I think it was last summer that I was wearing these for the first time. So this is a pair of Doc Martens that I got second hand from like an adult when I was 16. Of like, oh, I bought these for like a horticultural course and then I don't wear them, they're not my style. And they had completely like faded on all of the like heel points and like whatever, because I wore them loads. Like I was 16, and then this is all I wore until I was about 19, maybe 20. I think I was in my second year of my undergrad. So these took me all the way through sixth form and then like also through 2 years of undergrad before I had to buy another pair of shoes. And I bought another pair of Doc Marten boots. But I still kept them. The bit of leather here, because this is a steel toe, the little bit of leather had been like cracking and breaking a little bit. So I asked online, I was like, has anyone got any advice for like shoe repair glue stuff? And someone said shoe goo. So I got some little bits of leather that I'd got from the same scrap store that I got the fabric for these and for sort of all of my other kind of recent projects. It was leftover like sofa leather or something. Glued them to the shoes and that's been semi-successful. Like some of the edges are peeling. It's totally fine on these because they're characterful. I repainted it with acrylic paint and then I used like a leather finisher paint that I got from Amazon or something. I've pretty much stopped shopping from Amazon now, but at the time I bought it from there and it was about £4 or something, and the acrylic paint I already had. And now I've got some fun Harlequin clown shoes-ish look, and I've got that much more wear out of them. I tried to go to the cobblers to get some other ones done. In fact, the other ones I've got sat here. And apparently now, annoyingly, like with right to repair stuff, it can only be the Doc Marten people because of whatever the sole is made out of. Like your regular cobbler can't put stuff on the bottom and repair them. So that's like a thing to think about and try and fix as a problem. Maybe sort of more later, because whatever the sole's made of is carcinogenic or something. These ones I wanted to be a little bit less dramatic. They had the same sort of ripping bit because they're also steel-toed and they're also Doc Martens. I have so much got my money's worth out of these. I need to replace the shoelace. I might make a shoelace. I don't know. Unhinged. I'm doing a lot of crafting at the moment and experimenting with different things. I bought these when I was 16. I got them in a charity shop. They were £7.50. We were going to the opticians. I was like, oh, I quite like those. My mum was like, oh, are you going to wear them? And I was like, yeah, I think so. I'm 31. I'm still wearing the same freaking pair of shoes. So this one, I tried to glue down this little strip across the front. It's not vastly obvious when I'm wearing them, particularly if you've got trousers, because they only really show the toe bit. But the rip was there. So I put an extra little piece of black leather over the top. The glue wasn't holding it down very well, especially at like the edges and stuff, because it's all over a crease point. Whereas with these, it's not so much sort of over the crease point apart from just the two side pieces. So I've reinforced it with some stitching, with some button thread and a leather needle. It was very difficult. I wouldn't recommend it. Although like it's given me a little bit more life out of these shoes. So bonus for another completing thing. And I guess kind of merging into the next section, another little update I've had around kind of things I've been sort of making and addressing issues that I've been having with, like, you know, what about jeans? What about these items that are not something I'm very confident in making? One of the other things I was having an issue with was how to get rid of certain items. So with a main, with like a regular commercially created item of clothing, I can just give it to the charity shop if I don't want it. That's sort of very obvious. I can offer things to friends if I've got, I don't know that many people that are the same size as me, which is very annoying. So I can just offer stuff out or whatever. But I was wondering what I wanted to do with like hand knits and things that I'd spent a lot of time and effort making but didn't want to wear. Because when you make something, or like you do some sort of creative project and it doesn't come out how you wanted it to come out, like, it doesn't matter how good or bad it looks, you hate it. You get so mad at it. Like, I know, like, I had the same thing when I was dyeing my hair as well, of like, it didn't come out the right shade of teal, and it was like, but it looks really nice blue, like, but I wanted teal, and like, you're just mad and sad about it, like, and that's just true. If it's just, it doesn't look like what I wanted it to look like, get it out of my sight. So what do I do with those projects? What do I do with the projects that I'd made that, like, I thought I might like, but then actually it turns out I'm not that into them, and it's been long enough since I made it that I'm not feeling like, but I just spent 700 hours making you. Not that many. I don't really know how long it takes to make stuff. Many hours. Like, can be hundreds in some cases. So I found a good solution for that, because one time, and I think this is probably just anxiety, and maybe even that person was wrong, I went into a charity shop and I said something about donating something, of like, I was buying stuff and saying I was going to cut it up and sew it into other things, and she was like, oh, should we charge you twice if you're going to make 2 items out of it? And I went like, well, I'm just going to donate it back anyway, like, when I've made it more. And she was, oh, we can't take donated clothes, we can't take hand sewn clothes. If you've made it yourself, then we just have to put it in the rag bag and it just goes into textile recycling. And I'm like, and so I've been really paranoid about giving stuff to charity shops now, and I do check, and I'm like, do you accept handmade things? And they've always been like, yeah, of course we do. And I've seen loads of handmade stuff in charity shops. I'm just nervous because of that. So I was like, what do I do with an item that maybe someone would just get and think, oh, does it have a label? Does it not have a label in it because it's never had a label in it because it's handmade? Or actually is it just something that someone's cut the label out of? And I can treat this as if it was a H&M purchase or whatever, if they buy it in the charity shop themselves. And I found the solution. So step 1 is I take a picture of it and I post it on Facebook and I say, do any of my friends want this? Because sometimes when you're a knitter, when you're a maker, you make something, like, you make loads of stuff and there are people sat there on your Facebook admiring your work going, oh my goodness, this is all amazing, and to you it kind of feels normal and to them it looks amazing. And I guess the truth is somewhere along that spectrum, or all the way along that spectrum. Not here to debate that and my self-esteem around making things, but sometimes people will be like, yes, I want that thing, I've been admiring that thing, I can't believe you made that, I love it. And because as well they don't have necessarily the attachment of like, it doesn't look how I wanted it to look, they'll just go, but it looks amazing, gimme. So that's been a really nice way for me to pass on knits, and I've been just posting them to people, and if I've posted them to people I've said, can I have the postage? If I've been seeing people and just dropping stuff off, then they can just have it. It's fine. And that's been really nice, because it's really hard to price hand knit stuff, because it does take hours and hours and hours, and I could probably work it out and I could maybe time it, or like how many TV series did I watch, or like what period did I make it over, and like what was I doing at the time, to try and get like a bit of an idea of how long I spent on each project and each item. But like, if you price in your labour, then it's just like, do you want this pair of socks I knitted? To pay myself a £10 an hour wage, they're going to cost you £100. Like, no, that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. So have it for free. Like, the value is just intrinsic in the item, and you can determine it yourself if you ever put it on Depop or whatever. And then anything that I've had to donate on anonymously, my friend got me some little labels. When you have my birthday, you can get them custom printed. It says, handmade for you by Sarah, and it's got like my full name on it. So I figure if I sew those in, somebody looking at that will be like, oh, this has been not made in some factory, it's not been made on a machine, or like someone's made this and it's been gifted, and then like the gift has been donated, or it's come from a market stall or something like that. And I hope, and no one correct me otherwise because this is really working for me, I hope that there's like, if somebody buys it and they find that label in it, they will love it in a different way to if they just think that I've cut out a Primark label before I donated it. Fingers crossed. That seems to be working for me. With that in mind, I have also been de-stashing a little bit. So in my video last year, I mentioned about how I was feeling a little bit anxious, like my clothes were now a finite resource, and while I was adding pieces to it, I wasn't ever necessarily going to be able to replicate individual items. So I had to be careful about how much I wore them, because at some point they would become worn out. I'd no longer be able to wear them, very much like jeans. And if I wasn't going to buy them, I was just going to lose having that item in my life, and that at some point it might be that I needed to buy a new wardrobe full of clothes if I'd kept this up for a longer period of time. I'm feeling a bit differently about that now, and I have started to actually declutter a little bit some of the items out of my wardrobe. I have so much, it's ridiculous. And I think the don't add new things to it at any rate that's faster than you can make the things that you're putting into it is like a really good way to keep it under control from expanding even further and more like ridiculously than it already has in the past few years, especially when I was doing some of the big fast fashion buys. £200 on Shein, guilty, admit it. Like now I have spent that time, like now I have spent that money, I have got those items, I have added them. It's up to me to make sure that I wear them and don't just continue adding to them. So yeah, I got rid of some of the items. I'm not going to say it was a massive declutter. Marie Kondo would not have been impressed. It was not a film and put it on YouTube kind of situation. I've got rid of maybe like 2 t-shirts and a blouse, and someone gave me some shirts to use for crafting, and I kept 2 of them. One of them I turned into a romper, and the other 2 I've passed on to charity shops. So a few little items, those for like commercial ones, things that I've made that I gave away. I think we might be up to kind of more like a dozen. So it's nothing big and dramatic, but it does feel nice that I can let things out of my wardrobe now. And that anxiety that I had last year is gone. And also the urge to shop. Oh, shopping is so annoying now. I don't want to have to buy something. I don't have to go to the shops. I'd just rather like do something else. And that's surprising. It's been a little bit more of like a shopping detox as well. If I go into a charity shop now, I don't feel any urge to look through the clothing. I went through a charity shop and looked through the clothing with my best friend because she wanted to get some new work jackets. And I felt no desire to buy anything. Like, nothing for me. We were shopping for her, and there wasn't any like, oh, I should get this. Even when she picked stuff up and was like, do you want to buy this? And I was like, no, I don't buy clothes anymore. She was like, it'll look cute on you. Like, I'm sure it would. I don't need it. And I don't even want it. Like, even stuff that's like my style and that I might have bought in the past, I'm not buying, and I feel no urge to. So having been like a Christian for a long part of my life, like up till I was kind of 19, 20, that's sort of when I came out of it, came out of the stupor, shocking, when I spent a lot of time being quite devout and giving stuff up for Lent. So I'm quite familiar with the giving up cycle, insofar as it pertains to a couple of months a year. And I've always been very good at it. And I think I've just experienced that. So the initial part of giving something up is that then you kind of think that you're fine. So you're all exhilarated and excited by, oh, I'm moving to a different phase, I'm just going to focus on other things and whatever. And like people get with like new diets and stuff of like, oh, this is so fun. And then you get to a point where you're like, I really miss the thing. All of the like new stuff, energy has burnt off and all the enthusiasm's gone, and I just want to go back to my old habits. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, actually, I'm now in my more enlightened phase, and I'm no longer feeling how I was at the start. Like the urge kind of goes from like whatever the baseline is to dip because you're all excited, to kind of back up to where it was sort of at the baseline, maybe even a smidge higher, to just like dipping down into nothing. And I think that's where I am now. I might do another update next year, but yeah. And that has also extended a little bit into other areas of my life. So there's a little bit of an update kind of around other things. I'd given up my shower gel situation. I swear, it is the thing my friend is so bored of hearing about it. Like, I worked out how much of the things that I have that I wanted. And one of the things was like shower gel, and I was like, I'm not going to buy any more until I get down to, I think it makes sense to have 2 bottles of shower gel, one in the shower and one in the cupboard. And if I have any less than 2, I can buy one. But if I've got like more than 2, then I shouldn't buy any, because I want to try and keep my goal of having 2 shower gels in the house. I still haven't bought any shower gel. I've got so much. I swear I bathe. I've got so much. I started using like bubble bath as shower gel as well, so like those things are going down. But I started, like, you move something and you find that you've got like another one. So I've been doing a little bit of a mixture of giving some stuff away and also just using up things that had kind of, you know, when you keep something for a special occasion. There's no occasion that's special enough for shower gel or like Lush bubble bath or whatever. Like, just use it, it's fine. And I'm getting to that point. I am finally, and like recently, getting to the point where I'm starting to see clearness and I'm starting to see empty spaces. And it has taken the good full 2 years of being really strict with like not over purchasing. And I talked to my best friend about this, and she's like, I don't understand how you are having this problem. I go through shower gel so regularly. Like, even if I had 20 bottles of it in my house, I would get through that in less than a year. And like full-size bottles as well. And I don't know, she's got more surface area than I do. She's bigger than I am. And I use one of the scrubby thingies, which she doesn't like one of those shower puffs. Those are the only 2 factors that I've been able to think of. But yeah, it just shows that I need to shop for my needs rather than shopping for hers. She also wears makeup every day, which I don't. I rarely wear makeup. I do quite like a lipstick, but I've got a lot of lipstick, so that's definitely something that I also don't need to purchase and haven't purchased. But because she wears makeup all the time, she buys makeup all the time. So yeah, that's been a big change. I've also I've stopped purchasing from Amazon. I've really disconnected from there, which has been really good, because they are rubbish. So the Prime subscription has been cancelled. I'm now getting all of my music on Bandcamp, which is fantastic because it's like loads of my friends' bands and things, and I'm just buying their CDs on there, or I buy CDs in person, and when I go and see a band, and that covers most of my music needs, and it's also a streaming app. It's so much better for the artist. My partner still got a Prime subscription, so we're still able to watch the TV stuff on there. I'm still a vegetarian, which is neat. And yeah, not really buying like anything, so my costs have gone down. And one of the weird things, this is going to sound so weird, I had a point just before I did my masters where I like thought I was going to have to be more frugal, so I like paid off some regular bills, like I changed some stuff around, I got a phone contract that was cheaper and things, because I was expecting to not have as much money. And then I got a new job because the job that I was in wouldn't let me just go down to part-time, so I had to change jobs, and I went into one that was just so much more well paid, like stupidly well paid compared to what I was like. I had like a 10 grand pay rise. It was nuts, but it was internal. I'd like shown that I was good and I had the right skills, and they wanted me to do that. So I had this period of time. So like when I went down to the 3 days a week when I actually started my masters in the September, like I was back to the salary that I was on before when I was on 5 days ish. But I had a couple of months in the middle there where I was full time on this higher salary, and I just kind of had like loads of money, and we weren't loads of spare money that I wasn't expecting to have. And I'd like paid off these other bills, and we weren't really saving for anything. So I was like, I don't know what to spend this on, and I was almost having trouble finding something to spend it on. Because I also don't necessarily like to spend large amounts on single items. So it ended up doing some of these like massive clothes hauls just to feel like I was using my money. So in a situation now where I've like I would say this is probably the least relatable thing I've ever spoken about. So now, like, there's a thought of like, well, I've got my costs down, and I'm not working, so it works out really well. Had a bit of a mental breakdown, so I'm just doing some side work and some volunteering and hoping that my brain will get better. I'm getting better. I don't know when I'll be better, but I'm getting there. Like, I'm okay. Now reducing down my costs, I'm like, well, if I go into a well-paid profession, what am I going to spend all my money on? Which is not relatable. I don't necessarily have to work as much. Maybe I and my partner could work part-time. Maybe that's the follow-on from the costs. Generally, I've been pushing on this whole anti-capitalist work, and that is, like, in my eyes, that's quite a nice goal perhaps to be working towards. Not how do we make lots of money and spend lots of money, like how do we get a super expensive house so that we've got space for a lot of stuff, like less stuff, less like expenses overall day to day and things like that. Maybe that is less work, so we have less money kind of flowing through the house. I don't know. That's just kind of big pie in the sky thoughts at the moment. I'm making a couple of £1,000 a year. We're not in that situation right now. But reducing my costs down by a lot has been really helpful. And like we're okay financially at the moment as well. Like we're not in danger of being evicted or anything. Paring down my homemade wardrobe because of being evicted and need to move into a flat. Not a situation that I need to worry about at all. So yeah, that's been quite good. I've been experimenting with making more things, which has been really nice and weirdly profound. So one of the things that I'm really proud of is my watch strap. I wove it. I made a little loom to practice to play around with doing some weaving on, so I wove a bookmark. And I sellotaped some combs to this like button tin that I'd bought a while ago. And just had around, and I wove myself a new watch strap because my watch strap broke. So in addition to like some point in last year's, I don't know if I said it in my update or whatever, but like the battery went and I got a new battery put into it. The strap went, I've got a new strap into it. We're gonna end up in the weird is it still the same watch scenario. I reused the buckle and like the bar that the little strap was in is still like in place and stuff. That's not gone. So it was just replacing the fake leather material, and I've done that, and it looks good. People don't necessarily know that I made it, and when I tell them like I made it, they just think I sewed it on. They don't think I wove the actual fabric. So it really does pass for like perfectly fine and professional thing, rather than like I had a 5-year-old make this for me, so they'd be sad if I didn't wear it. Which I guess is like a good cover if you're like trying to use something that you've made. And like someone says something about it like, oh yeah, my nephew made it. Yeah. The other thing is like the idea of solar punk as well. Like that's quite appealing to me at the moment, along with all kind of the anti-capitalism and not buying stuff and making it all yourself. So I have moved some things around in this room. We're in the bedroom. So now I've got the good bit of window space set up for plants. And I don't think I'm like growing all your own food and like properly homesteading seems like a lot, and I don't want to do that. No shade to those who do, it ain't it for me. But I can probably grow all my own herbs. So I have started a little herb garden, and I suppose if I update next year, that'll be the question there. So I'm feeling good, generally about, not about most things, but right now, I'm feeling pretty good about my clothing situation. I'm finding that most of the time when I put together an outfit and I've got dressed, I'm wearing something that I made myself. Like it's become very, very normal to have that as just like part of my regular outfits. I made this top. I make my watch straps. I've got that on all the time. I modified up these really old slippers, so they've got like an extra bit of lining, so they're fluffy again a bit. Yeah, I'm feeling really good about my clothing situation, and I've started to declutter. So I think that might be something that I continue with. I'm not trying to do anything too fast, and I'm not trying to put any much too pressure on myself. I've got space for things. We're not in a situation where the clothes are like unable to exist in the space. And I've also been able to move things around. Like, part of my tidying journey, which is something that like also goes in with the declutter journey, part of that has also been learning that you can move furniture around in your house. I think because when I was younger, like I never had like my floor was always too messy. I've always been like a messy person. Some people are tidier people, other people are messier people, and I've always been messy, and like the family home was quite messy as well. That I wasn't able to move bits of furniture around to better suit my needs, and like now I have. So yeah, that's exciting. So I can continue to move things around like for my needs, and as my wardrobe expands and contracts, as I like make things and declutter things and need different things. That's all cool. One other little philosophy thing, because I've been watching, I watched a Hannah Louise Paulson video, and she was talking, I think it was probably quite an old one, she was talking about moving the way that she stored her clothes, because she'd kind of been following a Marie Kondo thing, and then she actually thought that a different way would be helpful for displaying stuff based on the space that she was in for the period of time. And that made me think about the way that I store my clothes. So watching some kind of fashion philosophy stuff can be quite good for that. And I have realised something about myself, because she was talking about like drawers versus hangers. And I hate hanging clothes up. I don't know why, it just feels like an extra effort. Like lightly folding them to put them into a big deep drawer is fine. I don't mind doing that. That's perfectly acceptable, but putting something on a hanger, that's asking way too much. So I think that's going to change a little bit the way that I store my clothes. I've realised the way that I like to pull for things, which might then also impact on the way that I keep or discard things, is I've generally gone with the title of Hidden Treasures. I pick something up, realise I like it, wear it to death for a few weeks, put it in the wash, pick up something else, and then when that other item comes out of the wash, it just gets folded and put away. And I'll search for something until it sparks joy, or like gives me the vibe that I'm looking for, and I like that. I love a rummage. Oh my goodness, I love rummaging, and I think that's possibly how I ended up buying so much in charity shops, because you rummage and like search for things, and that's really impacting on the way that I'm keeping stuff. So these fabric boxes that you can see behind me, I'm keeping fabric in them, and I've also got some like with yarn in, like that one up there. It's got all of my chunky yarn in, because I like sorted through all of that. Oh, that's not got chunky yarn, that's got fancy yarn, that's got chunky yarn. There's one that's got like sets of yarn, I think maybe in this piece of furniture. But I like a rummage, and I already knew that with my yarn, and I like that with my clothes as well. I like that vibe of going into like charity shop or antique shop or whatever, and like you go and you search through and you try and find something like wee at the back, and you can pull it out and you're like, nobody's seen it for years. Same thing with like libraries, and like just places, somewhere that feels like hidden and secret, and when you find something in there, I've always liked that. I've liked hiding stuff into like little secret places and things. So I want to recreate that vibe, which means I want big boxes and deep drawers, and only the stuff on hangers that really has to be on hangers. So probably like button-down shirts and some dresses probably do want to be on hangers rather than in drawers. So yeah, at some point we think we're probably going to move house, and I'll have that as a consideration for like future wardrobe, that what I want is like big drawers. It sounds like I want massive knickers. Maybe I do have a pair of like steampunk dress up bloomers, whatever. But yeah, so that's also been something else that I've like considered, and it's really cool to know that about myself and how I want to have things kind of displayed or stored for my own use. So that's like another little development on this tidying, declutter, anti-capitalist solar punk journey. Yeah, so I think that's probably all of the update that I've had. I'm so conscious of time in this video. I keep putting out long videos. I'm like, oh okay, but I think we stuffed enough rubles into this dead rat of a video. So yeah, it's been a good time. I look forward to possibly rewatching my old video, this video in a year's time, and the ones from previous years, and making an update. Have I caved in and bought some jeans? Have I bought some animal still walking costume to work at the zoo? I don't know. Have I recovered from my mental breakdown at the start of this year? Who knows? Maybe I'll just go more unhinged and I'll just be exclusively wearing wrapped fabric that I've got out of my box, and I'll just exclusively be wearing burlap sacks and duvet covers. Who knows? But yeah, till the red wall falls, I'll see you in hell.